Today we're going over only the haunted, the paranormal from Reddit. You guys are watching Netherworld. Hello. This is the first time I've ever posted on here, or on Reddit in general, and I felt like I had to share my story. To be honest, I've always sort of been a skeptic on all things paranormal, and while I do believe to some degree that there might be something out there, I usually take it with a grain of salt. However, I've started to notice some odd things going on in my home, and while I've tried to rationalize a logical explanation for what could be going on, I'm stumped, and honestly, I think I should give it a shot just throwing my story out here. Encounter number 1. This happened years ago, around 2020, 2021, I believe, and I remember it was late at night, about 11 p.m. or so. I'm a bit of a night owl, and so I stay up late, usually just watching memes or reading. I get thirsty and go downstairs to get a drink of water. I'm by myself downstairs. My family are all in their rooms, and I heard no one getting up and moving around, so I knew I was the only one down there. As I'm drinking my water, I noticed movement out of the corner of my eye outside the window just above the kitchen sink. I remember it vividly. It was a pale, transparent figure walking across the side of the house. I could see clearly legs, a torso, but it was also so dark that the only light being reflected was coming from inside my house. At first I was confused because I thought to myself, that wasn't what I thought it was it? I got concerned and thought maybe it was an intruder, so I went upstairs and told my dad. He takes his guns and our dog and starts walking around the house to search for this intruder, but he found nothing. I still can't help but think of how weird it is, because I remember where I saw the figure, and the direction it was headed led to a dead end by my house, so I don't know where it was going, who, or what it was. Encounter number 2. This one happened pretty close in time with my first story. I'd say maybe a couple months, and although I didn't see anything, it was the noise it made that scared the crap out of me. Again, it was at night. This time, it was 1 or 2 a.m. The house was dead silent. Everyone was asleep, except for me. And I'm downstairs by myself, getting another glass of water. As I'm about to head upstairs, I freeze, and all of a sudden, I hear this terrible and guttural snarl from the front door. I distinctly stopped moving, like every bone in my body was telling me not to do anything. Don't blink, don't breathe, and do not move. Whatever this thing was, it did not sound like any other animal I've ever heard before. It couldn't have been a bear since they don't come down this far. I suppose it could have been a dog with rabies, but it still doesn't explain the noise it made. It just sounded wrong and full of hate. It made me feel unsafe in my own home, which was completely locked up, doors and windows shut, lights off. Yet there I was in the dark, not moving a muscle because my gut told me to stand still. I don't even know what I was hiding from. I think I waited a good minute until my body told me it was safe to move again, and then I slowly tiptoed to my window by the door and peeked through the blinds. Nothing. Nothing at all. No dog, no animal, no weird drunk, nothing. I went upstairs and just went to bed. Encounter number 3. This one is fairly recent. Happened beginning of this year. This time it was around 8 p.m. It was just me, my 3 dogs, and a cat. Other than that, I was completely home alone. I'm taking my dogs outside to go to the bathroom, and once they're done, I get ready to open the door. I notice immediately that they're all pretty excited to come inside. Not that strange, but something just told me it was odd. As soon as I let them inside to shut the glass door, I hear 3 taps on the glass directly in front of my face. I know it happened because my dogs heard it too. Heads tilted, ears straight, and everything. I remember looking up as soon as I heard the taps, and all I saw was pitch black and an empty backyard. Nothing was in front of the door. In that second, I just looked away and shut the blinds and chose to ignore it. At first I thought it was my parents coming home, and they were trying to get my attention, but that confused me because wouldn't they just come through the front door? And I thought that maybe it could have been a stranger, but that's an even bigger concern. We'd recently installed some security cameras outside the house. When I went to go check the backyard camera, it showed nothing. No recent events, no movement picked up. The last footage recorded was from 5 p.m., and the live feed showed nothing. There was nothing outside, and yet I heard those 3 distinctive taps on the glass in front of my face, almost as if whoever it was wanted me there. I have no idea what any of this means, and I don't know why it started happening. So far, all I'm doing is ignoring it and hoping it goes away, but who knows? That's all I have to say. Believe it or not, I don't care. I only know what I saw. I'm from an Asian country, and this happened when I was around 13 or 14 years old. At the time, I'd been very sick and bedridden for 3 days, following my doctor's advice. The strange incident happened on the 3rd night around 2 a.m. I was sleeping next to my mom, and my mom was positioned right next to the window. Suddenly, I woke up to a strange noise. It sounded like someone was talking right outside the window, but through their nose. The voice was muffled, almost like a language, but completely unintelligible. I couldn't understand a single word, and it gave me chills. As I became more aware, I noticed something unusual. The tiny hairs on my hands were shaking on their own. It wasn't normal trembling. It was like a strange force had caused it. I remember thinking at the time just how weird it was. My mom, who has long braided hair, was still asleep. That's when I saw something forming at the end of her braid. A small, shadow-like particle. It started to grow slowly, taking the shape of a human figure, though it remained completely dark, like a silhouette. The shadowy figure began to crawl up the wall next to us, getting larger as it moved. It resembled a shadow version of something like Spider-Man, clinging to the wall in a crouched position. Eventually, it reached the top of the wall directly above us, crouched, staring right at me. I was paralyzed with fear. I tried to scream, but I couldn't. And finally, I managed to shout and told my mom, "Look, there's someone at the wall looking at me." She looked, but said she didn't see anything. I cried and kept pointing, terrified, but she insisted there was nothing there, and she turned on the light, and instantly, the figure vanished. Later, I shared this experience with my relatives. Most of them said it must have been a hallucination due to my illness, but deep down, I know what I saw. I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't confused. I still know what that thing was, and to this day, I haven't forgotten it. I am 23, a woman, and I'm from Darjeeling, India. These experiences started a few months ago with my parents. My mom loves to buy trinkets or antique stuff from thrift stores, and will usually bring home something or the other each week. A few months ago, she brought this small jewelry box. It was cute, with floral prints. It was empty, so she started to stash her jewelry in there. The first red flag was my cat Nando. He couldn't stand the box. He usually kept near Mom's vanity. But the day he saw the box, he was so scared, his hair raised, and he bolted from my parents' room and has not gone back in there since. The second red flag, after I'd touched the box and started having vivid dreams, 2 of them, which actually happened in reality, but that is a story for another time, it left me terrified. The third red flag, my mom was suffering from regular sleep paralysis after she bought the box. But last week, when she laid down for a nap, she felt someone hug her from behind, choke her, and when she looked behind her, she didn't see any shadow or dark mass of a shape. She saw an old woman with white eyes choking her. She told me it left her when I entered the room, asking for something. And while walking home, my mom fell and broke her arm, and we asked her what had happened. And she told us that someone had pushed her from behind, but there was no one behind her. My dad began seeing an old woman on the balcony adjoining to their room. Sometimes he hears footsteps, and sometimes he can feel someone touching his shoulder or someone walking past him. And the best part of all this is that now the box that started all this has been lost somewhere in our home. We planned on throwing it out, but we can't find it. Please, guys, give us some advice, because I'm freaking out. After I went to college, my little brother still lived at my mom's house. Late at night, when she was asleep, he would sneak out onto the driveway to smoke a cigarette. He did this a lot, and one night he was out a little later than normal, around 3 a.m. Right across from my mom's house lived an older couple who traveled a lot. And this night, they weren't home. They had a big backyard with a lot of mature trees, shrubbery, and outbuildings, like a chicken coop and a couple old sheds. As my brother was sitting out there, he heard a scream from one of the backyard areas. It sounded like a man yelling, as if in pain. Very guttural and primal, but muffled and distant. My brother was petrified. The screaming continued for a few moments, then stopped. He said he had this horrible feeling, like he was terrified of it instead of worried for whoever it was. So he went back inside the house and he tried to forget about it. A couple weeks later, he was back outside around 3 a.m. again, and at the exact same time as before, he heard the screams. It sounded the exact same as before, and again, it was absolutely terrifying. Several weeks later, the woman who lived in that house was taking a walk while my brother was outside. She stopped to say hi, and my brother decided to tell her about the screaming. She chuckled and said, yeah, when they moved into that house years ago, the children who'd lived there had told them about the backyard and how the shed was haunted. Pretty creepy. This is the closest I've gotten to having my own ghost story, so I figured I'd share it.